Welcome back to the class. So, in the previous class, we have studied about control and coordination in animals. Few questions, and today we are going to see few questions which appear usually in the examination. Control and coordination in plants. Let us discuss. And one thing you have to remember is your answers should depend upon the marks the question carries. That is very important. For one mark question, you have to answer in 1 point or 2 points. Point one, point two, and you have to underline important word in that particular sentence. And in 2 marks question, you have to answer within 4 points. First point, second, third, fourth. And in each sentence, you have to underline the important word. And don't waste your time explaining unnecessary things. Whatever the question is asked about, you have to answer. That's all for 1 mark question and 2 marks question. And for a 4 marks question, you have to give some sort of a detailed description. And in 8 marks question, that is section 4, you have to answer the questions with full details. If the diagram is asked for or not, you have to draw the diagram and you have to give full explanation about that particular question. Suppose if an activity is given, you have to write, suppose if it is photosynthesis or respiration, you have to give the equation. And the next, aim, materials required, procedure, and again after. So in that place, in the procedure, you have to draw the diagram. And next thing, you have to write test for starch. And next, conclusion, and finally precautions. So all these things should be in order. So that is how you have to answer. With the diagram, you have to give the answer for 8 marks question. Okay. So that is how you have to answer. Now, let us see the questions. How does control and coordination takes place in plants? In plants, there is no nervous system like animals, but certain chemical substances are produced which help in regulating the growth of the plant. So that is how control and coordination takes place in plants. Brief answer. And what are phytohormones? Are plant growth regulators or plant growth hormones? So the chemical substances that are produced in different parts of the plant which regulate the growth of the plant. Phyto means plants, hormones means chemical substances, and they are called phytohormones. Plant growth regulators, because they regulate the growth of the plant, they are called plant growth regulators. And because they are hormones, chemical substances which control the growth, they are called plant growth hormones. So the phytohormones are plant growth regulators. They help in regulating the growth of the plant. They are called phytohormones. Example, auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins. They are plant growth promoters. And abscisic acid and ethylene are plant growth inhibitors. So this is for 2 marks question. And so suppose if it is given for 4 marks question or 8 marks question, you have to give details. What is the effect of auxins? Auxins help in growth of the plant by the elongation of the cells. Gibberellins help in stem growth. Cytokinins initiate cell division. Abscisic acid inhibits elongated growth of the stem. And ethylene helps in the ripening of fruits. That is how you have to answer. Next, what are the different movements exhibited by the plant? So plants are sedentary in this nature, in their nature. Sedentary means they cannot move from one place to another place. So that is why, but they have their own way of life, and they exhibit different movements. So different movements exhibited by plants are phototropism, geotropism, thigmotropism, hydrotropism, and chemotropism. So these are 5 movements. Phototropism means movement of stem towards light, and geotropism movement of root towards soil. Thigmotropism means responding to touch. Chemotropism responding to chemicals. Hydrotropism movement of roots towards water. So these are the 5 movements exhibited by the plant. And how do you demonstrate phototropism and geotropism in plants? So suppose if a seed germinates, the root always grows towards the soil, stem always grows towards the light. So that is stem is exhibiting phototropism, root is exhibiting geotropism. So there is an activity, you have to put a potted plant horizontally, and you should not allow the soil to spill out, and you should be covered with a mesh. And so after few days, what do you observe? So that is we can observe observation. That is, the stem grows towards the light and root grows towards the soil. That is, stem is negatively geotropic and root is positively geotropic. So, if you take gravity into consideration, stem is negatively geotropic, root is positively geotropic. Okay, that is the thing. How do the movements of leaves of a sensitive plant different from movement of a shoot towards light? So usually plants, that means the shoots always grow towards the light, but here the movements of a sensitive leaf, that means if you touch me not plant, Mimosa pudica, what happens, the leaves will close. So that is what happens, the water that is present in the leaf base will flow away and making the leaves to close. So this is the movement is non-directional, and whereas the movement of stem is directional. Directional means it is growing in the direction of light. So that is the movements of leaves of a sensitive plant are nastic movements. That means non-directional. They do not move in a particular direction, whereas the movements of shoot always directional. It grows towards the light. Okay. Next, give an example of a plant hormone that promotes growth. You know, auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins are plant growth promoters. Auxins help in elongated growth of the plant by cell elongation. Gibberellins help in growth of the stem, and cytokinins increase the number of cells by initiating cell division. Okay, you can write 3 examples. And how do auxins promote growth of a tendril around a support? So in creepers, the stem is very weak. That is why the creepers cannot grow erect. They need some support to grow. So that is why when the tendril of the creeper comes in contact with the support, immediately auxins present in that region make the tendril to entwine the support so that the creeper can grow upwards. So that is how auxins help promote the growth of tendril around the support. Okay, prove by an experiment hydrotropic movement of a plant. Hydrotropic movement means growth of the roots towards water, where there is availability of water. For this activity, again I have told you aim. What is the aim? So to prove hydrotropic movement of a plant. And next, materials required: a container with soil and a porous pot and bean seeds. And what happens? So that is materials required and a procedure. So we have to take the container with the soil. In one corner of the container, we have to keep a porous pot which is filled with water. So the water is dripping out from the porous pot, and the bean seeds are allowed to germinate. After some days, observation. After some days, what do we observe? If you see, the roots of the bean seed grow towards the water, where there is availability of water from the porous pot. So that means the roots are moving in the direction of availability of water. So conclusion. So we have to, by this experiment, we can prove that the roots exhibit hydrotropic movement. Okay, so that is the hydrotropic movement of a plant. And what are nastic movements? What are nastic movements? Nastic movements means the movements which are non-directional to the stimulus. That means they do not act in a particular direction. That means when we touch me not plant, the leaves will close, and after some time the leaves will come back to normal position. That means the movements with no direction are called nastic movements. And next, how do phytohormones regulate the growth of the plant? Phytohormones are plant growth regulators, or plant growth hormones are the chemical substances which are produced in different parts of the plant. And how do they regulate? Means the auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins are plant growth promoters. They help in the growth of the plant, whereas abscisic acid and ethylene are plant growth inhibitors. So that means these phytohormones, plant growth promoters and plant growth inhibitors, act in opposite directions, so that they regulate the growth of the plant. So that is how phytohormones, plant growth promoters, plant growth inhibitors act in opposite directions, so that the plant growth can be regulated. So these are the important questions. That means the question may be asked in a twisted manner, but one thing, you have to understand the question and you have to give the proper answer. So this is how you have to answer. Answer the questions point wise. Don't just write like an essay. Point wise, you have to give the answers, so that the examiner will have an idea that you know the subject and you know the matter. So that is very important. The presentation of the answer is very, very important. Hope you have understood. Okay, thank you. We'll continue with the next chapter, questions and answers in the next chapter, that is reproduction. Okay, thank you.